So welcome to our premier site, the ELC, and the invite said that our new administrator, so this is our second time around.
Yeah.
We did one last year when he was here 6 months, but now he's been here a year and a half. And so we're the new team in town. We just had his evaluation, approved his evaluation last night at our council meeting, so he'll be around for a little longer. Yeah. So anyway, we're here to give you the facts about our great city. So let's go. I have to punch the buttons.
I can do it.
Punch them. Okay. 15 years ago, the city set its vision and the principles that guide all of our decisions, and we still use those principles on all of our council actions. And I hope you can all see them. The natural resources and recreation, Savage will prepare and enhance our natural amenities and maximize recreational opportunities. City services will provide high quality, innovative city services to meet our changing needs. Community identity, we will foster a pride of place that capitalizes on the unique qualities and history of our community. Public safety, Savage will maintain and promote a high level of public safety to meet the demands of a changing community. And I just have to say that recently, the city of Savage was named one of the top 10 safest cities to live in the state of Minnesota. So, transportation and transit, we will facilitate the development of efficient and effective transportation systems that provide for local and regional needs. And planning and development, we will facilitate thoughtfully planned, balanced, and diverse development. So our vision is that was developed 15 years ago, and that still holds because we have a rich past, natural amenities, and a diverse population that will provide effective and efficient form of government as possible. Now, what was first is that in the past year, the city department heads and the council held a short retreat, and we came up with 3 to 5 focus areas, and they had to do with housing, to be a regional leader in multimodal access. What we want, we inspire a pride in living for all, and our goal has been to provide housing opportunities at all levels. We attract and retain innovative businesses. We establish Savage as an exciting destination. Now, we had some discussions about that. I mean, do we want to be a big thing, like have a Valley Fair or something? Or do we want to be like the one who has the Dome and the ELC and a quiet Dan Patch Days and some of those things? And so that's the thing that the council has been talking about. We are a welcoming organization with strong, empowered leadership, and we are creating a vibrant and inviting community with a consistent identity. And we're starting to look at, different ways that we can do that, and you're seeing that in some of our recent road development.
You skipped over the multimodal.
Oh, the multimodal?
The second one.
Becoming a regional leader in multimodal access with metro connectivity and river crossing. And of course, we say in Scott County, there's 2 river crossings, and it's tough to get north and it's tough to get south. And we're saying that we have a river crossing that for the past 20 years, we haven't been able, the Metropolitan Council and the MnDOT have not been able to talk about, and that has to do with the possibility of a commuter rail on the Dan Patch line, which runs from Northfield to Minneapolis. But we are saying that our current proposal is to talk about it from Savage to Minneapolis or to St. Louis Park, because it will cross the Southwest rail. And that line is of course currently being used from, Cargill uses it to haul grain up to Minneapolis. And there's new technology that didn't exist 20 years ago that we want to talk about.
So just to add on this, like the mayor said, we came up with this vision and the principles 15 years ago. It was a large public input process where we invited everybody from the community to come in and provide their input. We feel that this was still a great vision, the principles still applied here, but we wanted to develop these 3 to 5 year focus areas to help direct staff in the city council and what our priorities were. And 3 to 5 years was an important time frame because we're very close to build out, and we feel that in 5 years we'll probably be either at full build out or really close to full build out. And by that time, it may be appropriate to have another large engagement process to kind of address what the community feels should be the future of Savage. So that's why we identified the 3 to 5 year time frame.
Anybody in the room that was on that? Rob, Jean and I. That was when we were first elected, so.
It was
Jean,
a while ago.
Yeah, Jean is a member of the city council. Yep, Jean Abbott. Okay, now we're going to go through this rather quickly, but we're going to talk about Savage by the numbers. So, of course, they start here in 1960 when there was 1,000 people in Savage. I always say I was here before that, and there were 500. But now there's, this past year in the census, we passed 31,694. And the number of parks and recreation participants in 2018 was 15,764. But we do know from the numbers that we have kept track of for the people who've used our sports center, it was over 100,000. So that is a destination. The fire calls for service, in 2014 we had 385. This past year we had 421. And you're hearing discussions about our fire service because we have a paid on call fire department with a chief and an assistant chief are the full-time employees.
Yep.
But they're they used to call them volunteers, but they are people who are trained and respond to calls as they come in. And the average reports per officer were 369 in 2014, and they're in 2018 it's 552. City Hall rentals where they usually have the meetings at the Marion and Marietta room. 978 in 2014 and over 1,000 in 2018. The number of the City Hall room rentals, I did that. Number of stormwater ponds, that's increasing and becoming a bigger and bigger issue for the city as far as cleaning them. In 2014, there were 217, and now there's almost 300, 298.
In the state, this is significant because the state and federal government expects the city to treat these like another utility. So we have to maintain them like a utility. We have to make sure that they're functioning well, they're cleaned out, they're filtering the water, et cetera.
And they're all connected. The total, Savage by the numbers, the total number of inspections. Now this is by our planning department. Buildings department, and in 2014 we had 5,321, and in 2018 we had 11,255. So for each new house there's about 20 inspections as each one of those is built so that they meet all the standards. The miles of pipe, there's the blue line is the water mains, so there's 150 miles of those, and of just a few miles less of the sewer mains, and they're the orange color.
We did have sewer mains in 2014, that's just a typo.
Yeah. Doesn't look good. Okay, the liquor store, you've heard a lot of discussion about that. We had 3 liquor stores, now we have 2. One of them is operating out of the Hy-Vee grocery store. That was the first time that Hy-Vee had ever negotiated with a city or anyone other than them to have a liquor operation in their store. And the other one is at Marketplace. And of course, we're watching that to see how it's going. In the original years when it was set up, it really was for a different purpose. It was to control alcohol in the municipalities after Prohibition. now there's a lot more competition and different things going on that do impact what happens.
In the liquor funds, traditionally, they've been used to help pay for the library. They provided funds for this facility as well? So here on this graph, you can see we really started getting more involved, the administrative side of City Hall, started getting more involved with liquor operations in April, May, started making changes there. You can see that the numbers have been steadily improving. And I think the key number here, if I can get my mouse here. So this is December, this is Christmas, this is always the highest grossing month. And in 2018 was a bit of an oddball. Hey, buddy. In that 42 and 13 was closed for a while, so that really hurt us, but we were hurting for years before this. It opened up, I believe in October or November, so it was opened up even in December. And since we started getting involved, our numbers, our gross profits per month has been above what we did in Christmas of 2018. So our numbers are good. We've cut some costs. This doesn't paint the whole picture. This doesn't give you the expenses, which is a significant part of the story, but our numbers are going in the right direction. I think that'll be a major decision for City Council first quarter of 2020 to see if they want to remain in the business.
And that's true to say what he did, because when they do have the profits, the majority of them go back into the community. So the library is over 20 years old, and they did pay the bonds for that until the last couple of years and gave it, a substantial donation to this facility. But I guess the bottom line is this something that a city should be doing in this day and age? It's a decision we'll have to make. Okay, the average home in Savage has increased in value $54,000 over 12 years, and the city taxes have increased over 12 years by $40 or $3.33 a year. Okay, what do I get for my money? The average household pays $1,379 a year in taxes to run the city at $114.92 a month. And I say for that, you get 24-hour police and fire service, you get some pretty substantial parks, you get good clean water, place for when you flush your toilet, where that goes, and all of those kinds of things. And the other thing that there's so many things that people just don't understand. And when I say, well, it just gets me every month when I have to approve the electric bills to XL and MVTA, and you're talking about $20,000 to $30,000 for each one of them. That covers every street light, every, stoplight. Those things go 24 hours a day, and people don't think about those kind of expenses when they're looking at their taxes. Okay, family membership and lifetime. We're just comparing these to some things. We're saying it's $114 a month for your city taxes. It's $150 a month for a family membership at Lifetime, Internet, Netflix, Fly, $110. Mine is higher than that, I can tell you. And the individual yoga membership is $85. So when you start putting those things together,
it's pretty good bang for your buck.
It's a pretty good deal.
And it's only been increasing by, on average, $3.33 a year. So here are some of the community projects that we accomplished the last time we talked to you. We did the Glendale Avenue reconstruction. Hopefully some of you guys, you've been on this. It was a great project by our engineering department. This was a street that it was originally built by the county, and it was going to be used as kind of like a County Road 27 or Dakota. It was going to be one of the major thoroughfares going north and south in Savage. Well, Vernon got built, 27 got built, 13 got built, and the traffic just wasn't realized on this road. And we have two schools here. There was no crosswalks here. And so basically the long and short of it was the road became over-engineered for the amount of traffic that was using this. So over the years, the road became worn out and we needed to redo it. So we took the opportunity to kind of right-size it. It went from 4 to 5 lanes to 3 lanes with a turn signal. And we also introduced the median, more turn lanes, and then I think more importantly, more traffic crossings. Because we have the 2 schools there, we thought it was pretty ridiculous we didn't have any traffic crossings over there. And it has been interesting, the comments we've got, because I think this is a great project for the city of Savage. The speeds on the road are 35 and 45, and the negative comments we've received are people are upset that they can't go flying through there like they used to, and well, that wasn't what this road was designed for. They're used to going 50 to 60 miles per hour down this road that has 2 schools on it, and now what we're seeing are people are going 45 and 35 miles per hour, what it was actually designed for. So it was a great project.
Not only that, there was a park there. There was no crosswalk to get to Hidden Valley Park. There were businesses from the bank to the dentist to the law firm. There were apartments. There were single families. It was quite a mix compared to any other street in town. So that's why, and the church. And so we worked with them. We worked with all the groups, talked to the school and everybody to come up with a plan that would work. And one good thing that I've heard is that the access 242 from this road, the turn lanes have been better defined. And not only that, I mean, you think about the road and what it looks like, but I'll tell you what, we televised the sewer and water lines and some of those things, and they needed to be replaced because this was an old road. And that's something under all these roads that people don't think about. I remember when we built that roundabout on McCall and Lynn and Glendale there, people said to me, well, how come you got to close down the roads for 3 months to build a circle? I said, well, come on over here and sit and watch what goes on underneath that road, and then you'll find out. And it's trying to, coordinate the electric company, the cable company, the gas line, it goes on and on.
Yep, those are all important. We also added a new bus stop downtown. This was significant because we don't have a lot of transit options here in Savage. Now, if you talk to the MBTA, and this is true, they have a lot of different transit options. I think most people think of the traditional bus route where you have a bus route that comes through, every hour on the hour, and they have a bus stop. MBTA has a lot of different options where you can call and get direct service. You can flag down routes, but those traditional routes in Savage, we didn't have a lot of. And so MBTA started a new route. It was called 495. All the routes are numbered. And it goes from Marshall Road Transit Station, Shakopee, to Burnsville, and then up to the Mall of America. And it has become their most popular route, or their fastest growing route. And it went through Savage, I believe it was 8 times without stopping. And we said, we have opportunities here. Would you please consider doing a stop? And, it was probably a little harder than it should be, but we worked with them and we found a way to add a bus stop downtown. And another thing that we've learned going through this process is that bus stops, you don't have you find maybe an area that you think would traditionally be used by folks in transit, and you add a bus stop there and all of a sudden the demand is relieved because everybody's using the bus stop because everybody wanted it. A bus stop or a bus route, you have to grow. You have to advertise it. It's just like any other product out there. You have to advertise it and let people know that it's out there and it needs to grow. So it takes years really to grow a bus route and a bus stop. So we put that downtown. We're monitoring it. We're happy that we have another transit option there on one of the fastest growing lines on the MBTA. So if you have folks that use transit, let them know there's more options in downtown Savage. Another quick note on that, they've done demographic surveys on folks from Savage that use their transit lines. The average income is $80,000. So it's probably not the folks that you think are traditionally use transit. It's people that want to use transit. It's not people that need to have transit. We also finished our...
So one of the stops is at the depot.
Yep.
And the other one is where the toy corner is, down by, the Buffalo Tap. So if you're going east that way and if you're going west, it's the depot. the thing about that is that, you know, you can drive to and park at the depot, you can get on that bus 4 times, it comes through at 10 o'clock at night. You can get on the bus, go to the Burnsville Transit, go to the Mall of America, go downtown,
go
everything.
anywhere
There's
from
all kinds of interesting opportunities with that, because 8 buses went through Savage on 13 every day and never stopped.
We finished our pressure zone realignment project. This was a 2-year project where we implemented pressure reducing valves in roughly the Dufferin Park area. And what this has done is allowed us to more efficiently use our water towers in South Savage. So if we hadn't done this, we'd need to have built another water storage facility in South Savage. That would have been a lot more expensive than implementing these small pressure reducing valves. We also partnered with the county in doing a study on County Road 42 and 27. This is the second most used or traveled intersection in the county, 42 and 27. So this is a county road. They're very interested in making sure that it maintains its functionality. The important part about this study is that, you know, when they do these traffic studies, they don't look just at the intersection. They look at the intersections around it to see how those are functioning as well. And when they looked at this, they looked at 27 and Conley, and through the study and also the enclave apartments that were approved by City Council, it met the warrants for a traffic signal, because we've been hearing quite a lot from residents that there's a need for a traffic signal at Conley and 27. And City Council would agree with that. The problem was that it wasn't meeting all of the warrants that the traffic engineers put in place for a traffic signal. But because of the study that we did, plus the apartments that were approved this summer, it met those warrants. So in 2020, you will be seeing a traffic signal at Conley and 27.
Of course, I wanted a roundabout because I love roundabouts,
wanted a
but there's
roundabout,
not
yep.
enough room there, so I got voted down, so now we have to pay for the lights.
Our police department recently hosted the community conversation on race. It was a very positive event. We appreciate them putting this together. It's not always the easiest thing to do. I was really happy with the turnout. We had roughly over 100 people, and we do plan on doing more of these types of events. I think Chief has a second and third event planned that will probably happen at least next year, at least the second one next year. So stay in tune for that. We completed our 2019 water supply study. This was adopted by or approved by City Council last night. You know, this sounds kind of dry, but this is very important for our community. So every 10 years, it's mandated that we do this water supply study. The significance about this water supply study is the last time we did one, it was saying that our peak usage was going to be, I think it was 12.6 million gallons per day. So the peak usage is in the summertime when it's dry and everybody's watering their lawns and filling up their kiddie pools, et cetera. And the problem with that is with our 2 water treatment plants, plus our connections with Burnsville, we didn't have enough capacity to meet that 12.6 million gallons per day. And this was in year 2040 when our population is supposedly supposed to max out. So what that tells us is that we have to start planning for another water treatment facility or storage facility or some more infrastructure to address that capacity need. And we put that in our CIP. We put $1.5 million in our CIP for purchasing land in South Savage, and then we would have needed to spend probably another $10 million to build a treatment facility if that was determined to be the need at the time. But what this water supply study told us is that our gallons per capita was decreasing at an amount that we did not have to do that. So the study that was done 10 years ago had the per capita usage, now this is people plus businesses, at 110 gallons. Looking at our data today, it's at 85, and I would say 85 is a little bit high too. What our per capita usage on the nose is 80.3. And communities, typically their water usage decreases as they get older. So that 80.3 will probably slowly decrease too. So what this tells us is that we have enough capacity now with our existing infrastructure. We do not have to take out debt to build more, buy land or build new treatment plants. And it even forecasted that we may have enough capacity to serve a small portion of Credit River. And if you've been in listening to conversations from Credit River, they're looking at possibly incorporating, and they're interested in possibly using some of the services for Savage, since we're already established and they're trying to get established. So that may be something that happens in the future. But we have the capacity now to do that without taking on a bunch more
But see,
debt.
this stuff excites me because our tagline is naturally resourceful. And this stuff didn't just happen in the last 10 years because as we talked about building new wells in Savage, you always hear about the fen. Oh, you can't drill more wells. DNR doesn't want us to drill any more wells because we'll affect the fen and everything else. So we had an opportunity to partner with the city of Burnsville because the Kramer Quarry was dumping millions of gallons of water into the Minnesota River every day. And so we partnered with the city of Burnsville, got a grant from the state, and built a new treatment center. And we use that water, not for all of our water, but for the majority of our water. And so we're using surface water instead of groundwater. And the groundwater, taking that out affects the aquifers. And so since we've been doing this, the aquifer has increased. And we have been a model for the Met Council and other areas because we've been doing that. Mm-hmm. The other thing we've done for years is we have a tiered water bill. So if you use a whole lot of water, you pay more money than one who doesn't use so much water. And what's the other thing? We did another thing. I don't know. But anyway, that's just how the city operates, and it shows what we're doing, and we're good stewards of the environment.
That's why our general levy is only increased $3 or per household on average $3.33.
Oh, I know what else. It's those economical appliances that you're buying now. That's not using as much water either. So that's all the things that are happening that are preserving the water.
So we also built a trail connection from Providence Ponds, that's the development just over here behind the dome, to Community Park. We also did a trail connection between Savage and Burnsville along the Rose Hill Bluffs area. And then we also had our different area neighborhood street improvement project. So that was a little less than 5 miles. We have a 10-year street replacement project for neighborhood streets. And that helps us plan out our streets so we can better leverage our debt and make sure that those streets are being taken care of and we don't have some streets that are just way deteriorated and other streets that aren't so bad but are still getting improved. This helps us keep an eye on the PCI, that's the Pavement Condition Index, and we put that as part of our 10-year plan. So that's also an accomplishment this year. I know this group likes to talk about the development that's happening in Savage. Development for residential, still happening, slowing down a bit. We don't have as much new lots coming on because the availability of land is decreasing. But this last year, we completed Rose Bluff 3rd Edition, Creek Hill South 3rd Edition, the Enclave Edge Apartments, that's going to be right over here. 190 units of Marketplace, Linden Cove Townhomes, and then Big Sky Estates 2nd Edition.
Okay, just to tell where some of these are, that Rose Bluff is the one that Burnsville and Savage shares, so that's between two cities. Half of it's in Savage, half of it's in Burnsville, half is in Scott County, half is in Dakota County. A little bit complicated. And the 190 unit apartment, there was some pushback from the neighbors about that, but for 10 years or more, that property has been zoned for high density.
Yep.
And so what's being built there are market rate apartments, which is different from some of the other ones that we have. The Linden Cove, that's interesting. That's out on Lake Hanrahan.
Yep.
And those are townhouses. They start at $700,000 and they have elevators.
But you have to be 55 and older.
You have to be over
live there,
55 to live there. But what I'm pointing out is that we do have all kinds of things, and that we did open Louisiana Lofts.
Louisiana Lofts was opened with a waiting list. It was filled up before it was even open. So I think one of the key messages with our residential development is, a lot of city councils have the priority of offering a range of housing, but it's very difficult because you have to work within the market because the market gives you what it wants. We've done a lot of projects here that are offering that range of housing. Linden Cove, although expensive, that's senior living. Big Sky Estates is market rate, single family. Loftus, Louisiana Lofts is affordable. Enclave Apartments is market rate apartments. So we're approving a range of housing here in Savage. And that's important for the life cycle of Savage in the, I would say the longevity of Savage, because when you grow up here, you like to keep your roots here. And if there's only one type of housing, you're going to have to move out and find another place to live if there's not apartments here that you can afford, or there's not senior living here that you can afford. It wasn't too long ago, it was only Cherrywood that was the first market rate senior living facility, and that was only 4 years ago that was built here in Savage. So if you were a senior and you wanted a place specifically for seniors, you had to move outside of Savage.
That's called senior living at Fenn Point now.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
And let me see, the other thing I just want to say, we got to be aware of the time here too, but that workforce housing, you know, we hear a lot about that. People don't want it in their neighborhood. They don't want those people living in their neighborhood. Well, I'll tell you, to live in a workforce housing project, you have to verify that you have a job, and you have to pass a background check, and you have to make less than $37,000 a year. And so the people who are living there that some residents don't like in our cities are the ones who, we have some first-time teachers living there, so what I say
Nurses.
to the people, well, yeah, is that the people who live there are the ones who are working in your daycares, who are working in your schools, who are as paraprofessionals, who are waiting on you at the restaurants and at Target and those kinds of things. And so we want to make housing available for everyone. And so that one is the second one of those that we have in our city, and we have another one looking.
Yep. And here just quickly is the commercial, industrial, institutional development that we've seen this last year. As I kind of forecasted last year, a lot of what we're seeing now is the significant development is actually redevelopment. So on this list, there's only 2 really new developments. So River of Life Senior Memory Care, that's a new development. That's happening just by Lifetime, thank you.
On 42.
Hamilton Ridge Elementary School, I guess that would be new too, but that's happening at the quarry, which the city participated with or partnered with Prior Lake Aggregates to put a TIF district on that area for them to redevelop that site that was used as a quarry. Additions to the Prior Lake High School and Red Tail Ridge Elementary. High Country Development is building a multi-tenant industrial site at the Highway 13 frontage road. This is the Old Valley Oil site. This was a site that the city saw the market, it had been on the market for, I think it was it was just close to 10 years, and it wasn't receiving any interest, or the price that they set was slowly coming down. And so what we saw was that the market really wasn't responding well to this, and our concern was that it had been purchased a couple times, but there wasn't any investment into this property that was right on Highway 13, which is a great place to be on if you were a private business. And what we saw was developers were scared away at the potential contamination of the site. It was an old bulk oil cell and gas station. So the city purchased it to remediate those environmental concerns and put it back on the market. And sure enough, when we got a hold of it, we found a whole bunch of, we did tests, so we knew what was under there. And when we stuck our backhoes in there, we found more stuff. So there was a reason why they didn't want to develop that one. And we found the reasons. But Mike Helbs is developing it right now. It's going to be a beautiful building. It's going to be great for that area. Also, the Continental Business Center redevelopment. So this is the old Continental building, a business made out of was it Hopkins or Golden Valley? I can't remember.
Hopkins.
He is redeveloping the building. He's fixing it up. He's going to put it into also industrial multi-tenant. But he has different ideas. It doesn't have to be industrial, and the city's being flexible with him. He has some ideas for event space, possibly a brewery or a restaurant. And we're being flexible with him, whatever he can get in there within reason. we'll work with them.
What he was able to do too is he was able to keep Continental Machines in Savage because while they sold the building, they did retain part of
shrank.
it.
Yep.
They rent part of it, he refurbished it, and they rent part of
They
it,
shrank
and
their
are still here.
Yep, they shrank their footprint, and he was able to provide space for them. Also, the Everbrook Academy Daycare, which is going to go in next to Hy-Vee. The Ertz facility, which is downtown, that had a groundbreaking here, I think it was 2 weeks ago. This was another redevelopment that the city was a part of. It used to be an old bowling alley site. The city purchased it, demolished it, and we've been holding on to it really just to control what went there. We hadn't had too many people interested in the site, but when there was a need for the Ertz facility, this was a great location. So now that's moving forward.
Oh, I got to explain it.
Go ahead.
Ertz is Intensive Residential
good
Treatment
point.
Center. So this is a mental
It's a
health
bad
center.
name, I think.
Pardon me?
Bad name,
Ertz?
I think.
Well, it's
Ertz.
Intensive Residential Treatment Center. So people who are living with a mental illness, who have been hospitalized and are transitioning back into the community, they can go to a facility like this for 90 days to prepare themselves to go back into the community. So of course, they looked at sites all over the county and settled in, or were interested in this site. And part of the criteria, because the pushback was they should be out in the woods, or they should be out in the country, or they shouldn't be by the bars or whatever. And the thing is, when you're going into a community, this is what life is. And so that's why you need to learn to live in that kind of a facility, in that kind of a community. They wanted jobs, they wanted transit, they wanted all kinds of things
And they
like
need
that.
to be close to their support system.
Okay, yes, and so the city donated the property for that project. And the other thing that's in that, for people who are having a crisis, a mental health crisis, where they need a couple days just to de-escalate, they will have an opportunity to go there for up to 10 days rather than to be hospitalized. So,
And then also, I don't know if this is going to be happening this year or next year, but Hy-Vee was approved for their Hy-Vee Aisles grocery pickup. So this is a building right now. If you go to the Hy-Vee store in Savage, they have a couple parking spots, I think it is, that when you order online, you go there, you pick up your stuff. That stuff is coming off of their shelves. They put it in these blue bins. You park in the space, they deliver it. They're building a facility for you to drive up to. And the way this will work now is that they have a distribution center. So when you put your order in online, that food is actually coming from their distribution center and not off of their shelves, because they can manage their product inventory better that way. It's shipped to the store at this separate building, and then you pull up and you get your groceries delivered.
and then I always say, you know, we have 8 grocery stores in Savage. 8, they're all doing just fine. And the other thing is about the schools that were on that list are the ones that are in Savage, in the Prairie Lake Savage School District.
Yep.
Pardon me?
Where's the building for Hy-Vee going to be? Is it on the
It's,
same property?
It's in
yeah, it's
the-
on the same property where
parking
part of
lot.
the parking lot is.
So basically where those stalls are, where you get your groceries delivered, that's roughly where that building's going to be.
It's a separate freestanding building in the front of, and part of the parking lot, where the staff parks now.
There was an article about the Waffles Farm being sold. Is that still in the?
I don't believe it's sold. We were talking to a developer that had ideas for the site, but they've had some family issues and they pulled away for a little bit, so we don't know if it's going to go forward or not. So still on the market as far as we know. One of the things we want to point out to you, and we have handouts on your tables here, is that there's been several articles in the Star Tribune about development fees and how they affect affordable housing. As you've heard us say here before, we're pro affordable housing because we think it's healthy for a city to have different housing options in a community. And there's different programs out there that help. Right now, tax credits, state tax credits are the most effective. The Dayton administration had a task force on affordable housing. They have a couple solutions out there that we think would work well. The Builders Association of Twin Cities recently came out with a study that said that their solution for affordable housing is to reduce the amount of city building permit fees, because according to them, up to 30% of the cost of a new home is contributed to from city building permit fees. Now, that's pretty significant. And when our city cohorts got together, we talked about this, we kind of looked at each other, was like, this doesn't sound right. So we did our own math, and it's here on we provided you a handout of where these costs come from. And what we've done is based on a $404,000 home, the percent of that cost that's attributed to city fees is about 19,000 or 4.7, I think it's 4.7% on the example we gave you. That's our math, that's our homework right there. If you talk to Batsy, they won't show you how they got their numbers. But that's really what it is. And the important thing to ask yourself here is that these are costs for inspections and infrastructure, stuff that we have to do. So we're not going to stop doing it, just other people are going to pay for it. So if you live in the city of Savage and we reduce these building permit fees, those are going to be passed on to you as a taxpayer because we're still going to be doing these inspections. And it takes about 15 to 20 inspections a house to go there and make sure that the builders are doing things correctly. We do charge them for connections to the infrastructure, connections to our
Sewer and water and
sewer and water,
stormwater.
paying for parks to improve our parks. So we're still going to be doing those things. The question is, who pays for those? Does development pay for itself, or do we spread it against or across existing taxpayers? Our philosophy has been that development should pay for itself as much as possible, and it shouldn't be put on the backs of existing taxpayers. So looking ahead next year, just talking about the budget real quick. So the average assessed value in Savage increased by 9.57%. That's pretty significant. So this is what Scott County assessors have developed based on the sales that have happened in Savage over the past year. So based on that, of that 9.57%, a lot of people assume that that's because there's a lot of new growth in Savage. Really what's driving that is existing value or value of existing homes. A little over 6% of that value comes from existing homes and those increasing in value. If you've ever tried to buy a house in Savage here recently, or maybe even sold your house, you've seen how tough it is, or easy if you're trying to sell your home. So based on that and the needs of Savage, our general fund is increasing by 3.9%. In 2020, the main driver of that is salaries and COLA and insurance. But when you combine those two, roughly, the tax rate is decreasing by 2.6%. So this is the 7th year in a row that our tax rate has decreased. And you can see it here, how our levy is slowly going up and our tax rate is going down. And of course, we're also maintaining our AAA bond rating, which helps us when we're borrowing money.
Only city in Scott County that has it.
To the chagrin of Shakopee, we are the only city in Scott County that has the AAA. Scott County has AAA, don't
Yeah,
they?
the county
County
does,
has it.
but no other city does.
So we've been tracking the average home in Savage over the last 12 years, and this is what it is and how it compares to our city taxes. So back in 2008, the average home value was $272,000, and on that house, we taxed that house $1,338 for city services. So over 12 years, that home is now worth $327,000, and our taxes on that house to pay for services is only $1,379. So that's where we get the numbers at the beginning of this slide, where the value of your home has increased on average $56,000, and your taxes have only gone up $40 in those 12 years. So some of these future projects to be aware of in next year is the census in 2020. I know this sounds dry and it sounds boring, but this really is important. The state of Minnesota kept its eighth representative
Congressional districts.
by only 8,000 votes. So that's pretty small numbers when you compare about how many people that skipped this census vote. Minnesota is typically one of the highest, responding states. We have the highest percentage. I think it's 81% respond to it. But other states are going to be pushing for their census counts too. And if we don't have a good count, we're in danger, really. Last time it was 8,000 votes of losing one of our representatives.
8,000 census tallies.
Yeah. I said votes,
Yeah,
excuse me.
difference.
Respondents.
And it means money. Each one of those means money that we get from the federal government.
Yep. And then another significant thing that's happening in 2020 is that we have 3 elections. And one of the things that's changing this year is that we are doing absentee voting at the city of Savage. So if you guys have done absentee voting in the years previous, you've had to gone to Scott County to do the absentee voting. You can now come to the city of Savage, which I think is a good way to do it. It's better customer service. One of the issues here is that we don't have a lot of space at City Hall. That's where you need to do this. You need to provide that absentee voting 46 days in advance. So we're gonna do it. This will be our first time, so give us the benefit of the doubt here as we figure it out. Also, we're gonna be doing a reconstruction of Hampshire Avenue. This is the road that serves Creek Hill South. It's in pretty poor condition. We're going to redevelop this road. The important thing about this is that with Credit River looking at possibly incorporating in with Hampshire Avenue being reconstructed, our utilities are now at the southern border of Savage. So the question is, when are developers on the other side of the border of Savage and Credit River going to be interested in redeveloping their land? And now with our utilities there, it makes it a lot more beneficial to start doing that because it will cost them less money. We do have the Credit River that goes through there.
1 minute.
I'll get it done. We do have the Credit River that goes through there, so we're stopping it right before we get to the Credit River. We're going to aim it to where, or align it to where we want to go across the river, but that will be important because that's what's going to spark development in Credit River is the Hampshire. We're also going to be looking at renewing our community signage. As I said earlier, we'll have the traffic signal at Connolly Parkway in 27. And then also, we're going to be, this is the year for our biannual community survey. So I don't know if we have, Emily, I don't know if we have a month narrowed down because we don't want to compete with the census. So it might be, May, June. But be looking for that because we base a lot of our decisions on this community survey. We ask a lot of important questions. We base a lot of our priorities and decisions based on that community surveys. And there will be an online component. So when you see us advertising it, please go out and take that survey.
There's one thing you didn't mention about the election. The city elections were always on off year.
Yep.
And because the county wasn't going to support off year elections anymore, we switched to on year, which means that we would not have election this year. Each one of our city council and mayoral terms were extended 1 year, and our election will be in 2020.
Correct. Are there any questions?
Flip it on to questions. Or you can talk to us afterwards. That's a lot of stuff, but a lot of facts.
Thank you for coming out and listening to us. We really appreciate it. If you have questions, go ahead and talk to us, and thanks for coming.